in a minute. All right, good. So we're behind the scenes, everyone. Welcome to Ask the Expert in January 2023. And this is just a super casual conversation because we just have fun like that in this place. And so if you're logging on to watch us, I want to say Happy New Year. I am so excited about today's topic because I was thinking about it and I was reflecting on my personal life journey and all the tools that we've leveraged. And anytime I think I know it, I come to find out I don't. There's so much more that I want to know. And so today I brought two amazing people who are going to share a little bit of information. Some of it is going to be on online, looking at some really great website. And I would say these two folks are like absolute favorite people because one I'm related to by last name. You will probably figure that out in her last name. Some people say we look alike. So if you see it, that's my younger sister over there. So uh, that's my younger sister. That's my sidekick, Sana, who like she was just telling me a few minutes ago, I volunteered. Basically I say, son, I need your help. And then I make that sad face and mommy dearest steps in. But by the way, Sana, you also many a times call me when you're in that panic mode and mom drops everything there for you. So
Very fair.
we're
That's
in
fair.
this together. So I'm going to pin a couple of us. So this way, as we start, let's see, let me add myself as a pin. And then I'm going to add Colleen as a pin. All right. So, and I want to just say that this particular topic is meaningful for many reasons. One of it is my dear son, Nicholas, turned 21 and now has entered from the children's side of town, is what I call it, in terms of supports and services, to officially the adult side. And I have to put it out here, back in 2016, I had a panic moment when I went to my son's IEP meeting. So IEP is an individualized education plan meeting. And in that meeting, they're talking about transition planning. And I'm sitting here wondering, okay, yeah, we know what we're doing now, but in 5 years, Nicholas is going to turn 21. And then what? I was like, oh, I'll push it away. And then randomly, I got an email from SPAN, which is the Statewide Parent Advocacy Network. I'm on the network. I sign up for a bunch of stuff sometimes. And then in that email was something about something called partners in policymaking. Most of the time, people who know me know that I jump in and I sign up for things. But this was one of the few times that I'm like, no, Genevieve, close your eyes. You don't have to say yes to everything. You just need to just let it go. So I ignored it. Well, the email popped up again. And this time I was like, I wonder what this is. I've told many people that was one of the best decisions I ever made because it brought me back in contact. And I say back in contact because I had written an essay for the Box Center. They had written an article about autism and faith. And I don't know how I got into it, but somehow I wrote something about it and it ended up in something. So like, as I'm saying to everybody, I do stuff that I have no idea that it comes back full circle. But this time around, when I signed up for Partners in Policymaking, it really opened the door for the journey that 2022. One day I'm going to share some of the stories of getting into the adult side. And everything they were telling me and explaining to me back then happened to be true. And if I didn't have that exposure, no matter how smart I think I am, I would have had a meltdown. I think I did have moments like that where I even called Dr. Spatonic and she's like just listening to me like this, you know how Deborah does, just like, She's listening to me like express myself and appreciate the gifting. So to tell you guys the reason for this topic is really at the key point of why I have the speaker that's here. And, I asked her last minute and she said yes, because the value of the work the Box Center does is incredible. So I have Colleen McLaughlin here, who's Associate Director for the Box Center. And she has shared, she's going to share with us her work and give, Colleen, if you don't mind, just get a little background about yourself, the Box Center. Please feel free to brag because the goal is that this conversation is something people are going to log on to later. And they might think they don't need it yet now, but I know they will because I have people who reach out to me 5 years later and it's like, I know you did a topic about X, Y, and Z. then I can say to her, go to our YouTube station and they can see some things about it now. So Colleen is going to share some things with us. And then my sidekick, Senna, will also then do under 21 stuff because mommy just asked me to do it. So I want to just say thank you, Senna, for always saying yes. I really appreciate you. And then, of course, Colleen, thank you for being a part of the My Go family. Really, our vision is really to empower families and to really grant them resources and access to hope. And as you've been on a journey with us, you know why. And then this is my way of recruiting for partners in policymaking because I just love that program so much. At least I have one person in here who have been in the class, and the rest of them, I bug them every time we get a chance to, because I'm like, I want you to have the experience that I did. So if you're listening to me, this is the woman behind the brain for partners in policymaking in New Jersey. So here she is. Colleen, over to you.
Thank you so much, Genevieve. Thanks for having me. It's great to see you and Senna, and I see Adironke, another partners grad. It's wonderful to see you all virtually. And my name is Colleen McLaughlin. Like Genevieve said, I'm the associate director at the Bog Center. We are New Jersey's University Center for Excellence in Developmental Disabilities, Education, Research, and Service. And we are also New Jersey's Leadership, Education, and Neurodevelopmental and Related Disabilities Program, most easily referred to as New Jersey LEND. So we do a variety of things at the Bog Center. My background is in developmental disabilities as well as psychology. My master's degree is in counseling psychology, but I really got the love of disability and really supporting parents and people with disabilities when I was a graduate student and a Partners in Policy Making class member when I was at Temple University. So partners pretty much raised me, as well as the wonderful mentors I had working both in Pennsylvania as well as in New Jersey with Dr. Spitalnik and all my other wonderful colleagues. A lot of my background is in training and consultation. So we do a lot of work both on the children's side of things, but most of my work is in the adult side of things. So if you ever have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out and ask. But Genevieve asked me here today to really introduce to you the Bog Center and all that we have to offer by way of training and consultation, and really a lot of materials. So as a University Center for Excellence, also known as a UCED, we're mandated to operate under 4 major core functions. So we do pre-service training. That's where our LEND program and a lot of our student work comes into play. We also do community service, which is really where our technical assistance and training comes into play. We do research, and we also do information dissemination. And I'm going to share with you some information so you can know exactly where to go and look should you be interested in learning more and finding resources to really help you and your family member. As you said, we believe very strongly in the mantra of nothing about us without us. So we always look to enlist and involve people with disabilities as well as family members in all the work that we do. So most of our work is completed based off of the needs expressed from people with disabilities and families, and they're engaged in the development as well. So I hope that's of interest to all of you. I'm actually gonna, I did pop in the Zoom chat. So hopefully, Genevieve, I don't know if you could share this in the live stream at all, but I did pop the Bog Center website as well as our mailing list on those pages. So if you were interested in going and looking on your own, please do and join the mailing list. That's the best way to stay up to date. We also have a Facebook page for the Bog Center. So that's another way to stay up to date on a lot of our resources. But since Genevieve first mentioned partners, I'm going to introduce you all to that. And so I'm just actually going to share my screen because it'll help you to navigate things a little bit, I think, as well. So Genevieve is on our Consumer Advisory Committee, and thanks to her input and the input of her colleagues on the CAC, they helped us to recently design our webpage, which is much more user-friendly than it has been in the past. So we hope you guys find it that way as well. So to introduce Partners in Policymaking, Partners in Policymaking is an 8-month intensive leadership and education training program for people with disabilities and family members. And if anyone is interested in that page, it's under our training and consultation section in the people with disabilities and families section of our website. And so what you will see is that we typically accept 25 to 28 people into the program every year. The program focuses on all things related to disability. It's a lifespan approach. So if what Partners in Policymaking participants learn is they learn the whole way from education through the adult system. People learn about Medicaid, they learn about healthcare, they learn about employment and transition, as well as strategies to really engage with policymakers, both legislators, but also state systems policymakers, to work in collaboration to create systems change. The program starts in September and runs through April of each year. Right now, we're using a hybrid model where 4 of our sessions are in person and 4 of our sessions are virtual. We'll very likely keep that model. It seems to be working fairly well, but once the new application is out in late spring, early summer, it'll give the details for the schedule as well as the model of the program. People that apply to the program are required to have letters of recommendation and make sure that they commit to attending each of the 8 sessions. It is a small class, so we want to make sure that people are committed to really attending all of the sessions and learning through that. But we don't stop there at the Bog Center. I probably don't have nearly enough time to share all of the things that we do, but I do want to point out a couple things that are going to be really useful to family members. So in addition to a lot of the trainings we offer specifically to family members are also welcome to attend a wide variety of our trainings. And in the training and consultation section, you will see a list of all the topics that we offer. So if you happen to have a son or daughter that exhibits behavior challenges, we offer training in positive behavior support. Those trainings tend to fill up, but should there ever be interest, please let me know and reach out. We could try to coordinate some other things as well. We offer training on mental health and dual diagnosis. We offer training on employment. We also offer new trainings on self-directed services. All of these are really focused on when people are in the adult service system or coming upon the adult service system. In addition to the work that we do through the Division of Developmental Disabilities focused on adult supports and services, we also have a variety of programs working with the Department of Education. And those programs are really focused on school age kids. So we have a program focused on New Jersey's Positive Behavior Supports in Schools program. And that program primarily targets educators and implementation of positive behavior supports and other supports and services within schools that really help to improve school climate. Community-based instruction is another program that we offer through the Department of Education within school districts. And that's really aimed at building programs that help students to have community-based experiences, both in terms of those experiences that help people to engage with their communities, but really primarily focused on transition and helping kids to be able to have gainful employment upon graduation. Person-centered approaches in schools and transition is just that. It focuses on how to be person-centered in IEP meetings, as well as through the educational process. That program has a number of trainings that are often open to families, so please don't hesitate to go and check those out as well. We also offer a series of trainings on transition to adult life and post-secondary education that are open to both families as well as people involved with transition at school districts. So I'm just showing you this on our page so you can see, and please feel free at your convenience to sort of go through, and you can click on things and read about things to really find out different topics that you may be interested in. All of these websites, which you'll see, are resources. When there's training connected, there'll be a link to go to training as well. Sometimes the easiest way, just since I'm showing the website now, to find out what trainings are being offered at any point in time is to go to the bottom of our page and click on the Bog Center online training registration system. This will bring up a calendar of the different trainings that are available at any point in time. One thing I do want to point out with regard to our training calendar is there's a list version. And in that list version, and I don't think there's many up now, we're in the midst of our scheduling for the next quarter, but you'll see a section called People with Developmental Disabilities and Families. And while the majority of our trainings are open to everybody, these sessions really target people with disabilities and families. The one we have currently open is working in partnership with supports coordinators. This is really focused on transition and working effectively with supports coordinators in the adult system. We have others, one on charting the life course, and then we have others that roll out periodically. And like I said, we're sort of in the midst of our scheduling period, so more will be available shortly with that. Let me see what else I want to show you. The other thing I like to really point out is our plethora of resources. We really strive to make sure our resources are user-friendly to people with disabilities and families. So Susan Ellian and our team, I always like to give kudos to Susan and Rob and Carol, they're fantastic, really work hard on these publications along with our teams. A couple of things I want to point out, since Genevieve did talk about the transition from childhood into adulthood, our materials really focused on community supports and services. And we have what we refer to as our Making Choices, Becoming Empowered series, which helps people with disabilities and families to select service providers, select supports coordinators, select behavior support providers, as well as select employment service providers. So I'm just going to show you one of them so you can sort of see. They all have this similar look to them, so you'll know what you're getting into. It gives a description of what you should be looking for within each of those various providers. And then the other thing that we tend to do is we really help people see the importance of looking within yourselves and looking within your family members, so that's the first thing that everybody should be thinking about is what makes you tick, what makes your family member tick, what are their hopes and dreams for the future? And then finding service providers that are really going to help you to make those things happen. There's nothing worse that I see is families being forced to choose service providers just based off of a list. Because if they're not going to be a fit for you or what your family member wants, your family member isn't going to be as likely to achieve their hopes and dreams. So it's really important that you identify what those hopes and dreams are and work with some providers that are going to help you to be able to do that. So I really just wanted to show you those tools and how they can help you to vision and think more about what you all are looking for in supports and services. The other resources I wanted to show you were really resources focused on community living and community life. Within the adult service system, service providers are required by the federal government as well as the state government to make sure that people with disabilities have the same extent of access to their communities that all of us without disabilities do. And so if a person needs to get those supports, and these tools that I'm showing here on the screen help people to really think about what they want out of community inclusion, how they want to be involved in their communities, and then ways to really advocate with providers as well as supports coordinators and others to make sure that they're being integrated as fully as fully as they want to be, and possibly. So those resources are available as well. Genevieve, I feel like I'm showing a lot of things that I just want to make sure. Is there anything else? I mean, I know, let me unshare.
No, you're doing great. I think the content of what you're sharing is important. So please take your time and go through it, because I'm actually learning. Even though I have been with your team all this time, you're showing me stuff. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know. So yeah, certainly I think there's a lot there that, you can share, and all the different programs. I think this is helpful.
Okay. Great. The other thing that I do want to mention is that in addition to partners, we have the LEND program. And the LEND program is interdisciplinary. So it is combined with both students, graduate level students, as well as typically 1 to 2 family members are selected to participate in that program annually. And that takes place over what would typically be referred to as the school year. And while partners takes place once a month on Fridays and Saturdays, LEND takes place on a weekly basis on Fridays. So there's a different level of commitment, different focus, but they're both leadership programs. A lot of our partners graduates will move on to apply to be a part of LEND as well. So I just want to make sure that I mentioned that, and that information can be found under our student experiences program. The other thing that I didn't mention, but I want to make sure that I do, is also on our website, you'll see our sections for research and news. So while we regularly have trainings that are available for professionals, people with disabilities, as well as families, our staff do contribute to national publications. So that's where information and information about the research that we may do will be published. And then we'll also often write articles for different journals. So if you look in primarily the news section, whenever new information comes out about best practices where our staff have written an article, that will be there. And we really encourage people to read that, because it sort of helps people to get a pulse on where best practice is, where the field is going. And just really what I often like to tell families in particular is, like, this is the bar that you should be holding up for the service providers, because we always have room for improvement everywhere. And we don't ever want to just sort of feel like, well, this is what we get and that's it. Like, we always want to say, you know what, we always want a little more. How do we get things better? And what can we do as an advocacy community to make sure that the supports and services are the best possible for our loved ones? And we really want to get to that point. Genevieve, I'm not sure, through the Facebook chat, is there a way to see if there are any questions? Because I'd be more than happy to answer some questions.
Yeah, we put the questions out there, but also in the Zoom chat, definitely we'll ask people to post in there as well. And as you're going, I know you're going to go to, you use the word advocacy. For the new families that are just getting on this journey, they don't want to be on it, because I know I've been there too. Can you just explain what does that mean? Because, when I hear the word advocacy, I'm just thinking, okay, at the level of just, governmental, but beyond just the trainings that you're offering allows us to gain what? Can you just define that a little bit clearer for us?
So the trainings and the information that we provide at the Boggs Center are focused around promising and best practices. So it's about really setting the expectations for the supports and services provided. The other thing that we focus on is our person-centered planning, approaches, and practices. So one of the things that we always encourage is that everything that's done needs to focus around the person and what makes him, her, or they tick, because that's really, really critical. Oftentimes we think about, oh, what the professionals want, or dare I say, even what mom and dad wants. And we don't spend enough time really looking at what the person wants. And that doesn't necessarily mean having, doesn't necessarily mean that the person needs to communicate to be able to say that. It means us all taking a deep look at what people's behaviors mean, what their mannerisms mean, what their expressions mean, and giving people opportunities to really find out what they want in their life. One of my things I always love to address is the Council on Quality and Leadership. It's a national organization that offers personal outcome measures. And one of the things that they focus on is what's referred to as the 3 E's: education, exposure, and experience. And the 3 E's really help us to realize that oftentimes people with disabilities don't get those. They don't often get the opportunity to learn through education what's out there. Like having someone say, hey, you know what, do you want to join the soccer team or the football team? Or do you want to take ice skating lessons? Or do you just want to go to the park and hang out with some friends? You know, we don't educate that those are opportunities that are available to kids, as well as, you know, as we look into adulthood. Do you want to take an art class? Do you want to get a job? You know, all of those things. So that's the education piece. Sometimes that lack of education is limiting.
Right, but
The other thing is the exposure piece. So we really need, both as family members as well as professionals, to make sure that people have the opportunity to go out into the communities and explore what may exist. You know, do you want to go to the grocery store? Do you want to go to the rec center, a concert? Do you want to try a college class? You know, all of these different things to help people figure out, like, I can do this. These are things I may want to do. And then the other thing is the experience piece. And sometimes we give up too soon. And rather than put supports in place in order for a person to be successful, we make an assumption that they don't like it. And maybe it's not that they don't like it, it's that they weren't given the supports that they need. And then there are some times where they're just like, we don't like it. But you don't know that necessarily until the experience happens. And when that experience happens and the person really does enjoy it, you get to know more about that individual, and it really opens up the doors. And so that, bringing back to the question of advocacy, Genevieve, is that all of those things really come into play. We need to make sure that as professionals, as advocates, and as family members, that we're looking at people and we're identifying what people want first. And we need to advocate to say, you know what, my son wants to have a job in the community. I'm going to advocate for the supports and services to make sure he gets that job, and making sure that family members in particular, you're sharing your vision as you're going to policymakers, to school districts, to even if you're just talking to a teacher, saying, you know what, I know that Susie wants to, you know, like eventually be a vet tech or a veterinarian or whatever she may want to be. How are we going to help her get there? You know, if you have a son or daughter who wants to go into a vocational school, or if they want to go to college, or if they just want to get a job out of high school, focus on that vision and advocate so the kid reaches that vision. And I think that that's really, really important for people to really explore and navigate what their visions look like, and really help policymakers understand what that is. I think one of the things that we often see is, and there's a need for this, but oftentimes we're advocating for more money, we're advocating for more services, but we're doing that absent what the vision is. So all we ever get are services that aren't working, more money thrown into a system that might not be helping people to reach their dreams, or if it is, it may be in pockets. So when we're asking for those things, we need to ask in the context of, this is our vision and we need these things in order to accomplish it, because we don't ever want that vision to get put out of mind. Because that's what's really, really critical. And every single one of you watching today, you have a vision, you have a dream for your family member. Don't minimize it. Dream big. It's okay. none of us really achieves our fullest dreams. I mean, if anyone has, good for you. There's always things we're reaching for, and that's okay. But you want to keep reaching. We don't want to limit our family members. We want to help them get as far as they can and make sure that the supports and services that are being paid for by systems, but also the ones that are available in our communities, are helping them to do that. And that's really, really important. That's the longest winded way of describing what advocacy is, but that's the way I see it. It's about making our visions happen.
No, that's great. I'm really glad that you talked about that, because then I was actually going to ask you, it's like almost which you led to that, which is the charting your life course. So do you want to just briefly talk about that? Because I think that is really what changed my vision about moving away from disability focused to being more person centered about what Nicholas needed versus, oh, I need to get services. So how do you get past from using that services language to what kind of support do I, help him achieve the dream that he has?
Absolutely. And I'm glad we're having this conversation because this is like so much bigger. So at the Bog Center, we are collaborating with the Division of Developmental Disabilities, as well as the DD Councils, the New Jersey Developmental Disabilities Council, on a community of practice to promote charting the life course. And charting the life course is really a set of tools, but it's really a mindset and set of concepts to help people with disabilities and families think about their lives and what they want. And I'm actually going to pop, Genevieve, if you want to share this with the Facebook feed.
Okay.
A website that has a variety of tools. And oftentimes what happens when we're visioning and we're thinking of our lives and our family members' lives, we have all these ideas and they're just all over the place. And we often struggle, like, how do we get it down? How do we get it down in a way that helps people to really understand what we want? And so through this partnership and through this national movement, there's a set of tools and concepts that can really help people to think about their dreams and think about their hopes. And I'm glad Genevieve says it really helped her to sort of think about the way things can be done. So I'm actually going to, give me a second. Let me share my screen. I'm going to show you. Thanks. So life course tools. So let me give credit where credit's due. Charting the life course really stemmed from the University of Missouri, Kansas City's Institute on Human Development. Shelley Reynolds is the director. And, they really came together with a group of families through what was known as the Wingspread Project. And they were talking about really, how do we provide the best supports for people? What do families want? And how are families supported to make sure that their loved ones are realizing their dreams? And together, because it's family systems, we none of us operates outside of the context of our families. So all of that's very true. So at this point in time, I think there are about 15 states that are members of this community of practice. It's been going on for about 10 years now. New Jersey joined about 3 years ago. But it's really this great movement that helps people and families plan differently and think differently and really set their goals and visions high. So as family members and others that are interested, they have a wonderful set of tools and concepts to help people plan. And the website that I'll show you has all these links. Everything is really found under the Life Course library. Foundational tools, exploring life domains, exploring life stages, and the integrated support star is going to get you the most information. I'm showing you some of the foundational tools right now because they're the easiest ones to start with. My favorite tool is what's known as the trajectory. And of course, that's microscopic. So what this tool helps people to do is, together with your family members, you have conversations to write down, what is the vision for that good life? It can be in the immediate future. It could be next year. It could be 5 years down the road. But what is that vision for a good life? And then the other thing you really want to focus on, because often this is easier, is to think about what you don't want. What is the worst thing that could ever happen to you or your family member? Where don't you want to see them? Where don't they want to go? Where don't they want to see their lives? Because you want to make sure those things are avoided. And then also in this document, it helps you to really outline what are those past life experiences? Where have there been successes? And where have there been experiences that really didn't help the person, your family member at all? And helping to think of those things can help think about, okay, this worked in the past. Maybe we can continue it so it can help work more, or maybe we can adapt it as the person gets older and their changes may need to evolve. When things don't work or they set people down the wrong track, we want to make sure that we acknowledge that so people understand, listen, this doesn't work. Like, stop doing the same thing over and over again, that type of thing. And then what you'll see here is this is the more complex version, but I like it because in the middle, it helps us to plan. So what do we need to do moving forward to help our sons and daughters and ourselves really hit that vision? This provides that outline for what we need to do as family members, where we want, what school districts may need to do, what adult supports and services may need to do, what children's system of care services need to do, what we may want to look for in the community, whether it be, a rec center class or a sporting event or whatever it may be. What do we want to tap into? And then what are some things we want to make sure we avoid? So if you're sitting there and you're like, I have all these ideas in my head and I'm just struggling to put it on paper, this tool can really help you to put it down. I always recommend that people do this. And if you're going to an IEP meeting, take it with you. Remember, you and your son or daughter are in the driver's seat of IEP meetings. No matter how intimidating that may be, you really are. And if your son and daughter can't be there, make sure you bring a picture, because you always want to make sure that there's somebody there to say, this, it's not about the school. It's not about me as a mom. It's about him, her, they, it's about the kid. So we want to make sure that that's there. Let me show you the other major tool that I think is really important, is that we want to make sure that within the supports being provided, that we're always looking at all that's available. And while when we think of advocacy, we're often driven towards what is referred to as eligibility specific supports. Those are supports that come from DDD or the school district through special education or children's system of care. There is so much more than that. And in fact, when people only are reliant on those eligibility specific services, more often than not, they're less likely to be able to achieve their dreams. We need those and be able to tap into those, but we also need to recognize that people come with their own strengths and assets. You all as family members have your strengths. You have the gifts that you bring to the table. Tap into those. Make sure you let yourself shine. Make sure you let your kids shine and recognize the areas where they have their strengths. The other thing is our personal relationships. These may be personal, but also our professional relationships. Who's there for us? Who's there for our family members? Who may we need to enlist and engage and create a circle of support with? Those relationships are so important. I mean, relationships sustain us. When we look at health disparities and health indicators, loneliness contributes to poor health. It's our relationships with our loved ones, with our family members, but as well as our friends and our neighbors and our coworkers and everything else that really sustain us in a lot of ways. So it's really important to think about those relationships. The other thing I really want to emphasize too is looking into our communities. Our communities have so much to offer. And I know my goal, you guys have created your own community. And within the My Goal community, I guarantee you have other communities, religious communities, other support group type communities. I mean, how many of you guys are probably involved in even other things like a library group or a mom's group or the PTA, those things, those community-based entities that any of us can go to, any of us can be involved with, regardless of disability, are really, really so important, because the reality is that in order for people to be fully included, we need to be visible. We need to be present. We need to make sure that as people that advocate for people with disabilities, we step beyond disability so the neighbor down the street knows we exist. So the art studio knows that they have people that are interested in taking an art class. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a disability specific art class. It can be Joe taking a class with everyone else with the supports that he brings. Or maybe it's just the neighbor helping out. All of those things are really, really important. So diving into those. And the other thing, and this is the integrated support star, it's another tool, but it helps us really think about all that's out there, are technology-based supports. We haven't scratched the surface in terms of technology and the ways that we can use technology. Our phones are, just amazing in terms of the ways that they support us, but they can also support our loved ones with disabilities through task management, through reminders, through remote monitoring with permission. We want to make sure we do things in a respectful way. My daughter, she's 15. She knows I have Life 360 on her. I let her know. I'm like, listen, you have your phone. I need to know where you're at. This is what, and she's like, okay, I get it. It's all good. I'm like, I don't know if it helps her with communication, because now she just knows where she's at. But those types of technologies can help sort of ease our minds as parents, but also help to increase independence if implemented effectively. And we also have assistive technology, universal design, so many different things to look at by ways of technology. Supports don't always have to be one-on-one. Those are necessary in some cases, but it really varies, and it's based on that person-centered approach in terms of what people want. So those are two of the primary tools from Charting the Life course. There are a bunch of other ones, but I really recommend you go to lifecoursetools.com and take a look at that. There's also a life experiences booklet series that helps people to really examine the different stages of life. So they have a booklet focused on early childhood. So if you have a young kid and you want to sort of start planning and thinking, it targets questions focused on that. And there's a booklet for each stage of a person's life, the whole way through aging. And that, actually, let me show you where that is, just so you guys can get a look at that. Because I don't know, I'm visual. I need to see stuff so I can show you things. That's actually in Exploring the Life Stages under the library. And when you go, they have what are known as quick guides. In each of the quick guides, you can see they focus on different stages of life. And you just need to click on that. And it goes through every life domain. So there's going to be questions focused on home living, social and spiritual activities, employment, all those life domains, health and safety, that are important for us to consider. And there are about 5 or 6 different prompting questions to help us think of those life domains in each booklet. And I personally think that they're extremely helpful, because there are some things like we don't think about. So like, for instance, a lot of times people don't think of employment in early childhood and school age, but we should be. We should be asking those questions like, what do you want to be when you grow up? Are you doing chores? Are you emptying the dishwasher? Are you making your bed? Are you, getting help to do that when you need it? How much can kids be involved with the supports that they need to? I think sometimes those of us as parents, we're like, oh, it's so much easier if we just do it ourselves. But sometimes it's like, let's take those extra minutes, we'll provide a little additional support and help build some of those independent living skills that eventually help people to gain skills, to eventually be employed and things like that. So those little things they go a long way. So those are the Trying a Life course tools. And we do offer a training for people with disabilities and families, focus around those tools. That will be coming up on our calendar, probably sometime in the near future. So keep an eye out for that. And we'd be happy to offer it if you guys are, if you have a lot of people that are interested, we'd be more than willing, like reach out to us and let us know.
Oh, so about that, how long is that course? Because I know I got the training within the partners course. So outside of the partners, how long is that course?
That training, I believe, is 2 hours.
Oh, 2 hours, okay.
Yeah, we try to keep them relatively short, because we know people's time is valuable. But we also, it's a lot of information, so we want to make sure we get it to people.
No, but I think this was a great overview of that. We did have a question as you're transitioning about the NJ lens. Someone wanted you to expound on that a little bit more.
So that's Dr. Swetanic and Dr. Carrie Caulfield's project. So I'm probably not the best person, but I will show you the information. So New Jersey Land applications become available in the summer to apply for LEND each year. Let me show you where it is an interdisciplinary program. So both graduate level students as well as family members and people with disabilities can apply to be a part of it. It is funded through maternal child health. It does have a focus on it focuses on a variety of things, but it's focused on advocacy, and it really addresses the needs of both children with autism as well as other related disabilities and those other maternal and child health populations. The website is here. It is under student experiences. We have, each link goes to more information, but you can look at the LEND project, the application project, and we also have FAQ. Each LEND participant is required to do a project that they really develop throughout the year, and it results in a poster that really shows the outcomes of their project. You can take a look at the different projects that have been done throughout the years here. And Genevieve is actually a graduate. Do you want to share a little bit about your experience?
Yeah, I am. After the partners, that was the next leg. And it was really a great opportunity to work with other professionals. So we're like the family. I had to put on my hat as the family representative and kind of really give insight about the journey for those who are in the seat of providing care for our loved ones. So it's really interactive, and there was a lot of learning that I gained from it, just from the different topics, and then being able to really develop my project. So my project was really related to my goal families. I wanted to kind of discern what are the needs that people have and their knowledge about the supports and services that are available. So it really tied back to the things that I was pondering about throughout. And it was really an awesome program. Like she said, 9 months on a weekly basis. And I was able to work with my employer to give me time to do it, just because I was able to share with them the value of me going through a training like that. So definitely a plug out. The time commitment is more than the partners, obviously. And that's the reason why I wanted to really have you start off with partners, because I think and really defining advocacy. And you did a fantastic job of even talking about, families' views on what's important to them. And as you were talking, I just wanted people to really move away from focusing on just the disability itself, because even talking about the Charting Your Life course, I wanted to turn it around as a question. Isn't only for individual families who have looking at that individual that may need support. So can you just highlight that a little bit more? Because some families just still have that stigma, and I want to get away from the stigma associated with needing more support and really realizing that all you're doing is giving that individual the opportunity for the best life. So if you can, you're one of the best persons to speak to that. That's why I wanted you to speak to it from that angle.
Yeah, and it's disability plays a part, but it's not about disability. It's about the vision, and whether it doesn't even matter what type of disability. It's about what the person as an individual wants, what the family contributes to that in terms of your hopes and dreams for your children. And then figuring that out first, and then recognizing, okay, there's an angle here because there is a disability. So there are supports that are needed. But just because supports are needed doesn't mean that we should be putting our hopes and dreams aside. We need to focus on the vision first and then build in the supports and services in order for that to happen. In the best ways possible. I think we really shifted things in the service system. We're still working on it, but we've come a long way in the past few decades, where in the past, we would live in a world where people would say like, oh, so-and-so has a disability, so they can't do this, this, and this. And we've shifted that model in the service system. And now we say, okay, this person wants to achieve these things. And by virtue of the disability or their support needs, really, they need the help to be able to do it. So let's build in that help and help people to achieve their dreams. So I'm going to say two things that may seem to contradict each other. We have to acknowledge disability. Disability and labels are how we get services. They're how we get support. So we don't want to negate that. But it's also people's identities. That's another thing that we've really shifted, is there's a big focus on disability identity, and it's who people are, and people are proud of that. And that's great. So that's how people get their supports. But people have dreams, people have hopes, and it's up to putting those supports in place to help people to achieve those.
Excellent. Look at that. We thought this was going to be a quick meeting. I knew there was no way. So you get off the hook for a bit of that. I'm going to open it up. If people have questions, they certainly can ask that question of Colleen, because we definitely want, and if there are things that she said here, you're like, I'm not sure what that is, or I have a question, you can either directly ask her the question. You can put it in the chat as well too. Because I think it's important that people have an opportunity to hear from the experts who have been doing the work. While I'm waiting for the question, can you tell us, what is the cost of all these trainings that you've been talking about?
Free. Yeah, we don't charge people with disabilities and families to participate in our trainings. They are supported by either the Division of Developmental Disabilities, through our core grant with the Administration on Community Living, or through the Department of Education. So yes, we provide our trainings for free. And materials are available for free as well on the website.
Wow. So, I mean, because I was harassing a couple of the families that I knew. I was like, hey, you need to be here. You need to hear it. And I'm sure they're wondering, why the heck am I pushing it so hard? Can you kind of give some insight to families why the value of staying on track and asking these questions and pursuing more knowledge and education?
I think because it leads to better outcomes for your family members, but also is for you as well. I know all parents have a weight on their shoulders. Anxiety, everyone's always worried about the future, both for themselves as well as their kids. And sort of having that knowledge can while the anxiety probably never goes away, it helps to reduce it. You have more of knowledge, and knowledge is power. It not only helps you feel comfortable knowing what you know, but it also sort of helps you to have that North Star. You know what you should expect, you know what you should be pushing for. And that can be really helpful. There's nothing worse than feeling like you're just going aimlessly out into the world. So having that knowledge can be really helpful. The one thing that I didn't point out, and I feel awful because selfishly, I showed you the resources that my team developed. But I also do want to make sure that you know that in terms of, let me find it. In terms of childhood, we do have roadmaps that are fabulous. Dr. Caulfield developed those to really help people to navigate the system and where they should be going when. And we have these roadmaps help to even find out who you should contact in your county. So I'm just actually going to pop that so you can see that, because as I'm thinking of it, we have so many resources, like just dive in. So you can see this document is the next steps when developmental concerns are identified. This is a beginning step, but it shows you resources for different counties, and who you can contact, step by step, who all can be involved. This is at the point of like just at that beginning stage of disability, like diagnosis. The other thing I want to show you, and I'm gonna struggle to find it, I'm sure now that I'm thinking of it, is so good. Right there, right in front of my face. So many resources. Is transition. So this timeline, I think, is fabulous. And it really helps people to look at, okay, at age 14, these are things I should be thinking about. 16, 18, 21. And then there are links to different resources that can really help for that, help with those topics. Everything's all right there. It's all laid out. It's really easy for people to use. It ties nicely with Charting the Life course. In fact, Charting the Life course is the first link that people see. So all of that goes together. So those of you that are really, you have those transition age kids down, actually, I'll give you pop it in the chat so you guys can have it. Actually, I'll get you this link so it has both the English and Spanish version. Yeah, download that and check it out. And if anybody needs copies of anything, you can always reach out to us and we can mail hard copies of some of our stuff is online only, but we do have print versions of some things as well. So if people are interested in getting those, if you want to share with people, please let us know.
Awesome. So then if it's free, how do you get your funding?
So we have a variety of different funding sources. So we have our funding through the Administration of Community Living, through Health and Human Services at the federal level. We also have grants and contracts with the Division of Developmental Disabilities. We work in collaboration with University Behavioral Health Care with the Children's System of Care. We also work with the Department of Education. So they fund our different projects. And then maternal and child health at the federal level funds lend. And we have other grants and contracts that fund some of our other development work as well.
Excellent. Wow. We've spent a good almost hour just talking, just navigating through stuff. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. So I know it's an open invitation. I would love for your team members to come back and talk to us, only because the tools are there. And yet people feel overwhelmed. And I'm so glad the website did get the facelift, because it is definitely easier to navigate because there's so much content that are useful and needed. But oftentimes families just don't know where to even begin, and you're right. While we're not supposed to just focus on the just eligibility piece, that's all most of us just know, to just say, well, I think I need the school district. And then just maybe once they need to go into adults, I don't even know where to start. But starting to be engaged now helps us to know that we have a voice in talking to our township and create direct programs to say, hey, we need to really do programs that could provide the supports that our individuals need. And so this is where I think the Box Center is a hidden gem that I'm just doing my part to say, let's get the word out, because the work you're doing is so important. And I know families can kind of get more involved. Now, if families wanted to serve or learn more, what would be the best way to kind of learn? I know you put the website out there, but how do they get onto your listserv? What are some of the things that they can do?
I would suggest joining the mailing list. And let me see. Let me put that in the chat. Definitely join our mailing list. That's how people, people will, Senna just put it in the chat. Thank you, Senna. Yeah, join our mailing list. You'll get updates about all of our training offerings. One of the recent things that's coming up is our developmental disabilities lecture series, where we'll have 4 national experts coming in to talk about topics. Those take place on Friday mornings in the spring. So I think the first date's in April, and it runs through early May, and then we offer 4 more in the fall. So those will be the next major events coming up in addition to our regular training schedule. We also, whenever there's a new material that's developed, we send that out as well. We also have a Facebook page. If you just look for the Bog Center on Facebook, you'll be able to, please like us. If you like us, we'll post, we typically post resources on that page.
Awesome. Well, I can't say enough thank you for doing this. It's so much that we can glean from all the work that you guys do. You're here servicing the community, and your partnership with the different organizations is really pivotal for families. So I know on behalf of the families, we want to say thank you. And this is just a good way to plug our partners in policymaking, apply for the program. Excellent. I know Senna, right? And I have 2 partners members here, so maybe if they could, Senna, you can speak to your experience, and Adoranke, if you guys want to speak to experiences as well too, because I think it's good for people to hear the work and the impact. Senna, you want to say something? What's your experience been so far?
Sure. So I started Partners in the fall, and definitely like walking into it, I was a little nervous because I'm a sibling. And siblings don't typically get as much, face time at the table. So, there's, like, love you to bits, Mom. But sometimes we get like the bits and pieces of the information that you do understand. So we get an even smaller picture. So I was definitely a little nervous of, the ability to learn, or not necessarily learn, but share and have equal footing. But I felt like this program has far exceeded all of my expectations. Definitely the Charting the Life course has been one of my favorite sessions that we've done. And I've also really loved hearing all of the speakers that are in different pockets of advocacy, because sometimes it can really feel like a lonely island. You're kind of in your bubble and you're kind of focused on all of the challenges you're seeing. And it's really refreshing to see all of the people that are doing positive work and are trying to make the system better or easier, and really also helping to change our point of view of, oh, we should, I want to be able to get this small thing to help me, but it's how can we also make the system overall better for everyone? So I think that like Partners has not only helped to educate me on like what are the resources and what are some of the things that are available, but also how can we make the world a better place for everyone. I mean, I didn't realize it, but those like on the curbs, they have like the little like it like dips down to the roadway, so the roadway level. And I didn't really think about it, but that was so that can make crossing the street more wheelchair accessible. And everybody benefits from that. I mean, I would rather walk down that ramp than step over the curb. So those are all like the little things that I've learned and seen. And it just has been a really encouraging and empowering experience for me. And I've loved working with you, Colleen. It's been amazing. So definitely highly, highly, highly recommend it for everyone. It's such a diverse group of family members, parents, self-advocates, and being able to share and learn from each other is amazing. And that's my TED Talk for the day.
And it is free. I can say,
and it's free.
Well, somebody's paying for the services, but the point here is that this is set up for us to really get the support. And so that's really why for the families out there, most of the time you feel lonely, you feel isolated, you feel overwhelmed. Supports and, programs are set up to help you.
Yeah. And I want to shout out to the, we do Partners in collaboration with the Disability Rights New Jersey and the New Jersey Council on Developmental Disabilities, who actually continues to fund Partners and has funded project since it began in New Jersey. My gosh, more than 20 years ago. So we've only been doing it for about 8 years, but before that it's been around. So it's been wonderful. And Senna, we're always welcome. We always welcome siblings. You guys play such an important role in the lives of your brothers and sisters.
Yeah, awesome. Adoranka, I don't want to put you on the spot, but if you want to share any of your experience on it, I literally pushed her to go to the class, and she thanks me now for it. But I know you may be busy, so she's laughing. But if there are people who are interested, definitely, I'm sure Colleen will and her team are open to hearing from you, and we can help to endorse you and support you in your journey for that.
I can share. Hi, hi, everyone. So thank you for putting me on the spot. Anyway, hi, Colleen. I think, oh my God, partners is an eye opener for me. Okay, so I think with that program, it's very, very, educative. And I also give kudos to Colleen and, oh my gosh, what's her name?
Jamie.
Jamie. Oh my gosh, yes, they were so very helpful, and they worked with me all through. And I think another thing is having other people share their experiences. There are, so many people in my group that I feel like I also learn from those who have grown-up kids. And I think we're about just few with younger kids, and having them share their experiences, I think it's really, really phenomenal. I learned a lot, right, from Medicaid, from having inclusion. And one thing that I think really stood out to me most was when we had, is that someone from DDD that she has a disability herself. And she said, there's nothing with us without us, something that has to do with that. And I think, like, for my Daniel's IEP, most times I just go in and feel like, okay, we're just going, this is a normal thing. But now it has opened my eyes to see that, okay, I can invite him. Now it's the person we're talking about, and he has to be present at his meeting, even if he doesn't have enough words to express himself. But I feel like having him in there, and it's kind of weird, they'll stare at you like, well, why do you have him here? But I want them to know that he should be part of the meeting. He should be part of what we're discussing about. So I love the program. I also want to encourage you, parent, sibling, anyone, to really join this program. You will thank my goal for it. You would thank Dr. G. You would thank everyone for it. It's really, really, really educative. Thank you.
Yeah, no, awesome. And Colleen, you put her in here, definitely builds relationships. Absolutely. It's lifelong, and you don't know when you're going to need what. So we can't speak that enough. And so I wanted to, this was our way to say thank you to the Box Center for your work. Really, it's like you do your work quietly, but it's impactful, and the families don't see it, unfortunately, especially younger families. Let's clarify that, because a lot of us are focused on just trying to get them the basic supports and get them to the schooling and have them have an opportunity like everybody else. So we want to appreciate you and all the work, and thank you for the invitation to be here. For those of you who are expecting to hear Sana speak, she'll be speaking next month. This conversation just went on, and I just love every minute of it. And hopefully you can log onto the website as she shared, and so you can learn more about the Box Center. So if there are no other questions or comments, thank you everyone for being here, spending a Sunday afternoon with us with the Ask the Expert. We'll see you next month. And say take care. Thanks to everyone. Bye-bye.